need?
Nope. No, it's all over the state. You can select. We just happened to select Mobile because the kids that was a place we hadn't taken them to yet.
Yeah, there was Birmingham, Huntsville, I mean, just all the way down, Tuscaloosa, what was it, Florence? There were a lot of different places.
A lot. We looked at Florence because I thought, well, that would be a really fun place to take the kids to.
Yeah, so I have to go into the recording studio.
Yeah.
So was the staff like they were just like extra engaging and aware, and what would you say was the biggest difference?
We went like right when the program began. Like I have a history of like jumping on programs like right when things start. They actually like we didn't get a sensory pack. They weren't very trained. They knew that we were there for the practice day. They did know that. And some of the staff seemed to be aware that we were there for that purpose. But like they didn't have like the sensory pack and they didn't have some of those tools that they were supposed to have, but that was okay. I mean, we come with sensory packs, you know, I mean, we've got like buckets of sensory things in our car. And so, and that was fine for us. You know, they did the upgraded room for Aaron, and that was really nice. And so, you know, they were just really sensitive, to, you know, like we were in the lobby at one point, like checking in, and my husband was getting the stuff out of the car and I had the kids and I was checking in, and, you know, my kids aren't going to stand there and be quiet. You know, my 5-year-old with ADHD is like flopping around, you know, and they just had a staff member just kind of standing there, just, you know, making sure they were okay, but nobody said anything negative. There wasn't any looks. There was a, hey buddy, you know, can I show you such and such over here? It wasn't a, you can't act that way. Don't climb up over here. It was a little different approach.
That's cool. They weren't fearful. They weren't like, they felt comfortable around you.
Right. But, you know, sometimes we would be, you know, trying to get the kids, you know, to act right.
And we've run into this situation too. You know, they see my daughter Rachel in a power chair. It's almost like they go a little over the other way, you know, like, you know, like, don't run over that man's foot. Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, right.
Do that.
Yeah, right. Oh, God. It's nice that they're doing this program, though.
I've never heard of that. That is really neat. I have several friends that I'm going to shoot them this resource as soon as we wrap up, because it is hard to travel. And well, I have one family that all 3 children are on the spectrum, and you know, there's only 2 parents, and so it's really tough on them.
Yeah, we typically do Airbnb for that purpose. We stay in an Airbnb just so we have some space, you know, and so that we don't have those issues.
It's different.
Hi, everybody. This is Linda. I'm back. I've got Tim Ramsey here with me today. Came over to my house, so this is pretty awesome. New way to do this meeting. So I'm going to introduce him and then we'll get started. Is everybody back? Start the recording back. Is that what he said? Okay, so I'd like to introduce you to Tim Ramsey. Tim grew up with the influence of public service. His father was a city council member and instilled in him the value of giving back to others Tim's done this in many ways over the years. First as a firefighter, then as a city council member, and now as a county commissioner.
You want to sign it?
What did you say?
I think it was something.
Okay. So what else that sets Tim apart from the other public servants is his connection to the disability world through his son, Ryan. Now I'll turn it over to Tim and let him tell his story and how his work impacts us.
Could you try again?
My Alexa's going off.
Alexa is talking to us over here on the side. Good afternoon, folks. I'm Tim Ramsey. I'm not a professional, so y'all quickly realize that, but I'm very happy to be here with you guys and talking. Linda just kind of summed up who I am a little bit there. And we'll just go through all that. I really want to talk about my son, talk about me a little bit, so you kind of get to know who I am in my heart and where I'm at. And then we'll talk about maybe ways that I can help people that I'm not doing right now. So we just kind of grabbed this Serve, Empower, and Support off of a business card I picked up here a while back from, what's the
Department of Mental Health.
Department of Mental Health. I met someone from that and just picked up their card, and I just thought that was such a good card and such a good idea just to, I held on to it, and it really is what I believe in. But anyway, we'll start off with Ryan's story and just kind of click on through that and let you kind of get to know who we are. This is my son, Ryan. We've been through a whole lot of stuff. I'm trying to get my phone to quit vibrating and driving me crazy. He's 29 now. This is obviously a good while back, but Ryan was born in '92. He's my third child. About 3 months into it, we realized something's really not right about this. The doctor heard a heart murmur and then got that followed up on, went to a specialist. And anyway, long story short, he was diagnosed with a condition called Williams syndrome. And at the time, there was like, oh, this is a rare thing. It's 1 in 50,000 children have Williams syndrome. And so, obviously, we were devastated, blown away. Didn't really realize the blessing that we had just received. But as time went on, we did, and we still do. But we struggle like everybody else does, getting that diagnosis and figuring out where we're going from here. When Ryan was 3, the heart murmur turned into a problem, and so we had open heart surgery when he was 3. Another, bump in the road, just kind of got through that, and kids are resilient, so he took it better than we did. He came up through the school system, was all inclusive, went to John Jones Elementary School, went to Rainbow Middle School here in Rainbow City, went to Southside High School, and he walked across the stage with a certificate of completion, all inclusive, which was great for him. We went through Boy Scouts all through this time, and really one of the things that I think is a huge part of people with disabilities is getting them involved in things that are outside, things that are with other people. And we really worked hard to keep that going with him, and it has shown. He went back to school, and I went to Gadsden State. I guess I should be clicking along so you can kind of follow along here. I lost my track there, but this is some pictures from me and Ryan going through Boy Scouts. We went through the whole thing. I wasn't a Boy Scout when I grew up. I was raised on the farm, but he was given the full treatment of Boy Scouts. He went all the way to Eagle Scout and finished up when he was 18. And it was just really a great experience for us to get that much time together, get that much time with interaction with other people outside of school. And I really encourage everybody to do that kind of stuff if you have the possibility or have the means to do that. I've always encouraged Ryan to be outgoing, but that really doesn't, I don't have to encourage that much. I was actually reading a while back that people with Williams syndrome have a higher than normal level of oxytocin hormone in their body, and that's the one that makes you want to be affectionate, wants you to have relationships and be with other people, and they have an abundance of that. So I really, if anything, I have to kind of hold him back a little bit. But he went on, and now I encourage him to do community affairs and community work. And so, we've got together with Sleep in Heavenly Peace here, and one of the things, and help build beds. That was over at ZLA Solutions, one of the jobs he first got. The picture over on the other side with the big chainsaws, and I let him run a chainsaw. Just, kind of trained him up on how to do that a little bit. But obviously not on a tree that size. But that was in Riddles Bend after the tornado came through, and got him out there doing community service. Again, just growing his personality and just growing Ryan. This, again, a little bit more Boy Scout pictures. We did the whole thing. I think we canoed 50 miles. We biked 50 miles. So it was really a great adventure. This is Ryan's, some of his family pictures and such as that, just how he gets going, some of the stuff he does. He is quite the outdoorsman. He is a avid fisherman and hunter. Just loves it, really. He overcomes whatever fear he's got. I just push him into it. I had him drive me today up close to the Mountaintop Flea Market, which, if you know where that is a big heck of a curve and a hill, and it tested him. But we got home, and he was smiling because he had overcome his fear. These pictures again, Ryan, the outdoorsman, the fisherman, the gunsman. This is Ryan's support team. That's the rest of my family right there. A little picture somebody made. I don't know how we did that, but of course he's right in the middle of that, and he always has been. He's got two older sisters, and he's come up through and done really well. And I think a lot of that has to do with, again, support structure. And this is just really the heart of it. We have a large family that is all around us, and we've always been active in churches and other things that, keep people around us, and Ryan in the mix. And now Ryan is a pretty independent guy. He still lives with me and may for a while. I don't know how that's going to go. We're just taking it one day at a time. But he works at Lowe's now, and he drives himself there. He makes his own lunch. He has his money. That's a good thing. I don't have to subsidize all this. But again, he is a pretty unique guy. He just does what Ryan does. And Ryan has his own way of doing things. And I encourage that, and I push him forward every chance I get. Now to me. Kind of started off with this picture right here, and it's not thumping a Bible or whatever, but I went on a mission trip. I went to Zambia, and this was, I don't know how many years ago, quite a few years ago. I'm the old guy on the end down there with a hat on with white whiskers. But I didn't really want to go, but I just got led to go. And again, I'm not trying to be that guy, but felt like I had to go. And I got over there and thinking I'm going to do something there. But I told Linda about this, and I felt like this changed me more and affected me much more than it affected anybody in Zambia. It really changed my outlook. It actually changed the way my family worshiped. It changed the way we did things. And it really, part of that is just, to me, what I wanted to say this about that is stepping out, stepping forward in something that is not in your comfort zone. And this was not in my comfort zone in any way. Don't really care for flying, and I think we traveled for 36 hours to get there. It was a really grueling flight, travel. I'm not the all-time in the air, but that really had an impact on my life, and really in the service and what I should do and what I am doing. So just kind of included that picture in that. On to being a fireman. I've been with the Gadsden Fire Department a little over 30 years. Again, I've got a heart for service. I know that. I don't, tout it, whatever, but you can't get past it, especially if you get in the fire service and you just continue to do that day in, day out. And picture on the right over there with me in pink, that's my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter. We went to her daycare and took Sparky, the fire dog, there. Picture in the middle, just after a fire, me and my buddy hanging out just a minute to where, or actually my driver hanging out to where we were cooling off a little bit, getting ready to clean things up. The picture on the other side is a little bit of a different team. That's part of my support team in getting ready for county commission. And I want to say this about this slide. And I included this because it really doesn't fit into this, other than the fact that we were doing things. This is a group of firemen all dressed up in suits, but we were doing things that mattered to us. We were traveling to the state, to Montgomery, to the state house to visit our legislators, to advocate for things that we needed as firefighters. And I wanted to put that out there just because you have to step forward. You have to be your advocate. You have to be the person who does the steps that you do to get to where you want to go. And so when you're passionate about something and you take action, you can make things happen. And that kind of leads into this next slide. These are things that I'm passionate about. And part of it is this first slide on the left, and then one in the middle. That's the recycling process in Rainbow City, part of that. And while I was a council member in Rainbow City, one of the things that just drove me crazy was all the cardboard and stuff that we were throwing in the dump and hauling off. And I felt like we could do better. I felt like it would save us money as citizens if we didn't carry all that off to the dump, because the people who take that stuff to the landfill charge you by the pound, and so when they redo their contract, how many pounds they put in the dump for you is going to be part of the overall equation of how much it costs us to do it the next time. But more than that, it's the environment that springs me to want to do more in recycling. So that's part of the passion I've got for that. And I pat myself on the back in this. I started that process with a grant that we were able to put together where we bought 3 trailers. And they're about $4,000 grant. We got 3 trailers and we started putting them around the city, and they just started filling up quick. So we bought more trailers. We got another grant. We got a truck. And the thing kept growing to it is where it is now. And we have this facility that you see behind the fence at City Hall where they keep 3 to 5 trailers parked, and they're always full of plastic and cardboard. And then the one in the middle is a building that we haul it to and we bail it up. And I actually called the other day just to find out, kind of how that's doing. And so I could tell you guys, last year alone, they hauled about 400,000 pounds, or recycled about 400,000 pounds of cardboard. We got 400,000 pounds that didn't go to the landfill. They took 228 trailer loads of plastic to be recycled. Those are things, again, that I took a small step forward on something I was passionate about, made it happen, and it just continues to grow, and it grew into this. Very proud of that, and very happy that it's continued to move forward. Picture on the right, that's the first new road in Etowah County, is what it was touted as. In the last 30 years, that's the first road they built in Etowah County in 30 years from scratch. And that's a road that helps us alleviate school traffic, which is one of the big things that my father tried to address when he was in city council 20-something years ago. And we were able to put 2 and 2 together and finally get that to go just I don't want to tell the whole long story, but it was a long story of how that road came to be. But it started with my desire to finish something my father started, to do something that would help a group of people. And the group of people, part of that is everybody in Rainbow City that got caught up in school traffic. And this new road helps to work that way. These are just some pictures from City Council and me being active in all kinds of endeavors. You can kind of pick me out back in here and there in those pictures. Go to ribbon cuttings. As a City Council member, that's one of the things you do. Just support business, make decisions with the city, and help the city move forward and make wise decisions. A lot of this has to do with the Chamber of Commerce and other places. After 6 years on the City Council in Rainbow City, I decided that I could do more and wanted to do more, and so I ran for County Commissioner in 2018. And since then, I've been County Commissioner. I'm actually up for re-election here in 22, so we'll see how that goes. But this is the City Council or the County Commission sitting at the desk or whatever you call that, the bench at the County Commission, and a bunch of youth behind us that are working with the Sheriff's Department. County Commission, I don't know if y'all knew that or cared about that, but we basically serve as the custodians of all the county's property. We do everything. If anything is bought or sold on the county level, it goes through the commission. And then, of course, the county collects all the taxes that the state lets them and distributes that back out to the cities where it goes. You see the slide there. But anyway, we are basically your voice. We basically take your money and put it where it needs to go, and we're your voice. So all that led me into talking about what I can do for you as an elected official. And I have the heart for it. I have the position for it, but I need to know what you need. And you can't just say, well, I just need transportation. Well, I need to know what kind of transportation you need. I need to know where you need to be transported from and to. I need to know what days you need transported. All those things that you need to do ahead of time when you come and you start to talk to someone like myself or anyone else, then those are the things that will help me do what I need to do to help you get to the means that we need to get to. So when you start to look at that, you start to look at your goals about the things that you can do or the things that you need done, then look to start with at yourself and what do you need specifically? What would make your life easier specifically? What would be, I guess, it can be a little thing or it can be a large thing. If it's, it doesn't have to be big to me to be big to you. You need to decide what is the things that would enhance your life. And then that's your objective. I want this right here. Well, then start thinking about how that needs to happen. You may have to get people involved in it to make your strategy. You have to, who do I need to talk to make that happen? Who are the people that control those things? That's where you're going to use your strategy to figure out who that is. And then you get to the tactics part. And the tactics are going to be about, went too far. That's good. Yeah. The tactics are basically how are you going to do it? And again, that goes back to getting with me or getting with, and I don't control everything. You get to somebody at the state or get to somebody with the mental health department. I've got some contact information at the end of this that I put together that are people that I would call. If you came to me and said, I need this and this and this, well, these are the people that that I would turn around and see if I could get it for you. But I need to know what that is that you need. So I guess I've been jabbering for like 15 minutes, and I apologize. I don't do this often, but has any of you guys got any questions so far? I think I just overtalked everything. Well, back to again, if you're going to try to be your own advocate, you talk about how to begin this. Again, get back to the basics of exactly what you need. Write it down. Write down your ideas of the things that will make your life better. And then put together your thoughts. Where do you think you should begin? And then get with other people around you and find out. Veronica, raise your hand. You need to do anything.
You go ahead and talk, Veronica. You can ask a question.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and let him talk, but so mine was more of a question coming from the county commissioner position. I'm sorry, let me unmute. So as a county commissioner, I'm just curious, in your area, what are you seeing as some of the most pressing priorities that your voters and your constituents are coming to you with from a county commissioner? Is it, things like just, like transportation, affordable housing, or, I mean, so I'm just trying to understand, I'm very uneducated in the role of the city and county level. I'm just very interested in some of the stories that you hear and how they're presented, and currently what we're going through at this time. Just very interested in that.
Well, Veronica, that is it's a good question, but the root answer to one of our biggest problems that we have is the lack of care for people who have mental health needs, whether it's a diagnosis or whether it's an addiction or whatever the problem is. And we're working well with the probate judge, Judge Hassel, right now to start a program that's MCATS is what it's called, but it's an advocacy group that will put together a paramedic and a social worker and basically go out when the police encounter someone who is having a mental, whether it's someone who has a diagnosis or whether someone who has an addiction, but this person doesn't need to go to jail. This person needs an intervention that will stop that cycle that we're in the middle of. That's why our jail is half full, is because people that are in the cycle, they keep coming back. And so we're starting a program like that. It's underway, and we've got some of the funding in place, and some is on the way in the form of a grant. But if I were going to put one handle on what is the biggest issue that we face most of the time, it's all a lot of it relates back to mental health, and that is whether people are not able to hold a job so that they can pay their rent, or whether they're not able to stay within the boundaries of the law because they have an addiction or.
So that's so interesting, because that directly reflects the world we live in, which is the people with intellectual disabilities, and the progression that happens as our adults with disabilities get older and older. The parents are getting older, the caregivers are gone, and all these things start to just increase. And this group of cohorts, some of us have older adults and some of us have younger children, but we are all desperate to change that cycle and to figure out a way for our adults with intellectual disabilities to live a safe and independent life. So it's interesting that was the one that is what you're telling us, because that's what's being reflected not only in our own hearts but nationally. And it's a crisis. It's just an epidemic right now, and it's affecting we may think we're outside that bubble because we're an upper middle class family or whatever, some of us, and we think we'll be there for our adults with disabilities. And I have a very, very vulnerable child who cannot communicate and is physically challenged. And so, I want him to live in a community that are addressing issues like this. And so it's really, really, really neat and good. I mean, it's not good, but it's that we know you guys are talking about this and that conversations are happening and that things are being done, and even on a local level at what you're doing. So it's encouraging to hear.
It is encouraging that what we're doing here, but I guess it was right around 2018 or so. The state pulled a lot of funding for mental health and shut down a lot of mental health facilities, and so our jails have reflected that, and our court system is backed up reflecting that, because again, a lot of people who cannot control what they're doing, whether it's their medication, they can't afford their medication that kind of keeps them on a level plane, or whether they're addicted to something that they have to steal to get it. These are the things that keep us moving in the same circles that we're in. And so part of that whole process is getting our state legislators to buy into the fact that we've got to change this process. We can't continue to do what we're doing here. We have to have more state funding for mental health. We have to pay whatever it costs to attract mental health workers. There's probably one of the big problems is an overload on the workers. I mean, it's hard for you to do a good job and a good assessment in a few minutes, and then you don't see somebody else for another month or 6 weeks. What fell through the cracks? I'm sure a lot. So it begins, as far as mental health, it really begins with funding on the state level, and that probably begins with funding on the federal level. All these things are they're little pieces that have to be put together. They're little steps that have to be made, and you just start with your city council member saying, we got this major problem, I need it, get it in front of the county commission, and the county commissioners have a pretty good voice to the state legislators. And there is a state organization that is called ACCA. It's Alabama County Commissioners Association. Very, very strong group in Montgomery. Again, we are pushing forward, pushing, trying to get more funding for mental health, trying to get more facilities for mental health, but nothing moves fast, except the funding cut went really fast. And then now we're trying over the years to get it back and get things in place where we can address some of this.
I had a question real quick.
Okay, Jenny.
I'm up in Madison County, and I'm just curious as to what you think when you approach an issue. Should you start with chain of command by starting with city council first, or should you go on to the county first? Depending on the project, of course, but I mean, what are your experiences?
Well, let's start with this, and I wanted to. Oh, actually, I'm glad you said that, because this is something that I wanted to bring forward to you, to all of you, and I forgot it earlier. And part of the reason I told you all about me and all about Ryan is to give you the insight that I'm that person. I'm the one you're looking for, because I have that connection. I have bought into that. I live this. And so I'm that person to see. In Madison County, do a little legwork, look at your city council members, look at their Facebook page, look at your county commissioners, look at their Facebook page, look for that child with Down syndrome, look for that child, look for those hints on who, there's my person right there. And this is one of the things that I was going to say earlier. When you come to see that person, whoever that is, whether it's on the city council or, and it does somewhat depend on what the issue is and who controls the purse strings for that issue. But once you narrow that down, look on that city council or look on that county commission for that specific person. Don't take it to the whole county commission to start with. Take it to that person. Introduce yourself. I'm Jenny Lux. I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this that I need. And part of that, again, goes back to what I said earlier. Give me a specific need. And if you can do it, Jenny, get me a specific answer. Go as far as to say, to whatever, I mean, if you can put it together for me, because I've got 20 Jennies coming to me saying, hey, I need this. But if Jenny Lux comes to me and tells me, hey, I need transportation on Tuesday to get to the doctor, and it's every Tuesday, and I live in Altoona, and I got to get to Gadsden. Is there anything you can do to help me? Well, I know exactly what your need is. Now I know Jenny Lux, and I'm going to do everything I can to try to find a way to get you a ride on Tuesday to Gadsden and back home. And so when you find that person, go to the trouble of, before you see that person, put it in writing, exactly who you are, your contact information, exactly what you need. And if you can say, hey, there's rural transport out there, but they don't come up my road. You know, they're 2 miles away. Well, we can fix that. But when I have you, I have your specific problem, and you've already given me half the answer to fix it. We can fix that a lot easier than a general, I just need some transportation to town. Well, that's very vague. And so begin with, find the right person.
Okay.
You know, and again, it has to do with what the problem is, and some things are going to be addressed by city, and some are going to be county, and some I wouldn't start at the state level. I would start at the county level,
Okay.
because that's somebody you can walk up to a lot easier than you can at the state level.
Okay, thank you. I just shoot, I lost my train of thought. I apologize, sir.
That's okay. You just come back to it when you get it back. That's okay.
Commissioner Tim, I think I want to thank you for sharing and being with us today. And I concur with everything that you have said. And I applaud those departments, whether they be police department, fire department, who have a mental health specialist or someone that kind of step in the gaps when they're dealing with someone who has a disability, whether it be seen or unseen, because all disabilities are not seen. And I think one of those issues that we have facing law enforcement is that, you know, they're trained, but they may not be trained in mental health to the extent that they can help someone or keep someone from going to jail when it may be a mental health issue. So I think if we can have more of those, and we do have some now, more than we've had, 2 or 3 years ago, mental health specialists in these different departments. But I do think we do need more, whether it be, and I know that's a funding issue because some departments may have more budget than some others. But at the same time, I think that's one of the issues. I think we as a state or nation, and of course, law enforcement issues are all over. And people are being arrested or jailed or killed or hurt, so to speak. And the issue is a mental health issue that has been overlooked or, not necessarily made aware of. So if there's some type of advocacy or some type of direction that we could go toward or in, as a council or as individuals, then I would love to hear some advice, or, you just your input on those particular areas, because we do have some police departments that, have bought into it, but at the same time, we do still have many that are not, to that level at this point.
I agree. If you'd like some more information, you can contact Probate Judge Hassel in Etowah County on that MCATS program, kind of to share his information out there to other counties that y'all are active in. That's a great program, and you can find some grant money to help with that, the cost of that.
That would be Daryl.
Do it, Daryl. Do it, Daryl.
Also, too, I had met. I'm sorry, my name's
Serena.
Sonia Manning. Yeah, and I actually live in Etowah County, or in Southside next to you. But I was able to find this one lady who did for free for training of police officers and such, with no expense to the county and so on. And I still have her contact information if you need it, Daryl. But yes, and I greatly agree and everything. There still needs to be more training for the police officers here, even in Etowah County as well. Because I've had one time my daughter was having a meltdown in Walmart, and there was a police officer was walking by and offered to help, and I was grateful for that. But until he asked my daughter if she wanted him to put his handcuffs on her, and I was like, no, I'm going to be going out of Walmart today in handcuffs. Nope.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then one time she accidentally called 911 by accident, and of course their protocol is to send out a police officer to check to make sure everything's okay, which was fine by me. But when the police officer arrived and everything, he just stood on the step on the porch and just kept shifting his weight back and forth, made him very nervous. And he could literally see into my daughter's room, but he didn't even look up to even check to make sure she actually was okay. I mean, not that there was any abuse going on, but it makes me concerned for people. Maybe it was the only time they could get to a phone and to call for help. I always think about people who can't speak for themselves, and that just drives me crazy. So, but I could definitely see that as well.
We need more training for police and fire, because I'm a paramedic with the fire department, and we end up in a lot of situations where you get just really aggravated because of the person is the parent sometimes calls for a child, and they're well enough to be independent, but they're out of control, and we don't really have any ability to address that. I mean, we just have to walk away.
I agree and everything. That
we
would
just
be
have to
greatly
walk
helps
away.
and everything with having to have positive behavioral supports in place. I mean, because if
and
there's
really, for us to know basically what to say and what not to say, that's a huge part of dealing with someone who's in a crisis. What do you not say? I mean, like, you won't put handcuffs on you. I mean, the crisis, not a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I'd just be better off to leave you alone, ma'am. Might be probably better off.
Yeah, because all she was wanting at that point was just get out to the car. She just wanted to get back to familiar surroundings and to be away from people and getting nagged even by her little sister, because I was going through the store telling her, you have to keep over next to us. And she wants to wander out in front of people whenever they're, with their buggies, and they always feel, I don't know. You always get them looks, and then, they're always the pity looks and stuff, and it annoys me. But anyways, so I was always trying to get her to come back over. When her sister did it, that was it. I could tell it was coming, and I was really trying to get her to tell me that, and reassure her, we're leaving, but I need you to tell me you want to leave now instead of having a tantrum. We was able to get over up to the registers and stuff, but she just couldn't handle it. There was too many people ahead of us. There's one family ahead of us, and she just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
But whenever I came back in after I took her to the car and I came back in, the cashier was even like, "Are you okay?" And I just burst into tears. She said, "There was no reason in that," because she saw the whole thing,
Yeah.
and she, they had great sympathy, but of course, unless you've experienced it, you really don't know what to do. And I see that.
I understand. Rena, did you have a question? You had your hand up a while ago, and I apologize I didn't get to you.
No, it's okay. I was just going to kind of comment on what Daryl and a few other people were saying. Just from the experience that I have, it's kind of a vicious cycle. So, mental health doesn't have the money in the budgets to kind of do certain things. Law enforcement doesn't have the money in the budgets to do certain things. And so, just as an example, I know in Lee County, they have the mental health place, there, and certain situations, people that they know had severe mental health issues, come Friday, they would let them out and they would just kind of wander Auburn, Opelika area. Didn't really have anywhere to go, didn't really have any resources. And obviously they had some issues. So what would happen is law enforcement would encounter these same people. They would have issues with them, and then they would in turn end up having to arrest them and having to put them in jail for the weekend until they could get back with mental health on Monday and put them back in. And like I said, it's this whole vicious cycle. And because nobody has the funds, nobody wants the responsibility, the liability, it's this constant thing. So it's like, where do you start? Because it's both ends and the money and everything else. But I definitely agree. I mean, the law enforcement does need more training. I know there's been several situations where my husband and my brother were out, and if they didn't have the experience that they had with my son that has autism and is nonverbal, a situation could have gone really bad really quick. But because they recognized a few little, mannerisms or whatever, they had sense enough to kind of stop it in that moment, or not let a certain kid just go into the system, because they go into a house and then they take the kids and then they're like, oh, well, this kid that's blind and deaf, we need to place them. And you're like, whoa, it needs to be somebody that can handle that situation. They can't just go anywhere. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
Absolutely. And there's nothing simple. There's nothing cut and dried on any. It's all unique, everyone.
I go to your resources now, I think.
Yeah, here's something that I picked up the other day. Y'all want to screenshot this or whatever you want to do, but Family Success Center over on East Broad Street in Gadsden. There's a lady named the director there. His name is Emma Clapp, CLAPP. They have a list of services that actually, I think, did you have a list that you're going to put out, Linda? Or
I did not link it on the slide, but because we had the address and the phone number that they can look it up.
Well,
And there's probably something like it. I'm going to look that up to see what's local for everybody else that's not in Gadsden.
Yeah, well, there's probably something in your area like that, but at this Family Success Center, they can help people with disabilities, or they help really not necessarily anyone who needs it, set up budgets. They can get you a place in the gym for free if you need, if that's part of the problem you've got. They have mental health counseling, and they have legal services in case, a lot of times people can't hold their job, they run into bankruptcy or the eviction notices. They have legal services at this place. So one of a good asset there. And again, if you can't find something in your county or close to you, grab that number right there and call and just tell them where you are and see if you can get a referral over to that. Maybe they know who that is next to you. Maybe it's the county over, and you can get some good help.
It's a county. It's an Etowah County.
Yeah, that's an Etowah County thing.
So it would be individual counties have
Right.
something, a nonprofit.
But she will know who's close to anybody that would have these kind of services. The next name down, Alan Smith, great guy. He taught shop for years on the high school level. He's moved up to the Dean of Workforce Development, and that's over at Gadsden State. There may be other places around, but they are training people with disabilities, and we talked about putting Ryan in that, and they will work with people if they can find them a spot that they can get into something that will give them gainful employment, hopefully. But another good contact information for you there.
And I'll share the slides. I'll put it on Slack later, and I'll share them with you by email.
I've included this slide. This picture was made just a couple of days ago. The gentleman I'm talking to is Jordan Mills, and he is the regional director for Senator Tuberville, our U.S. Senator. I went to meet Jordan that day just because I heard he was in Rainbow City, and they had come there to see what was needed here and there. Knew he was in town. I just went to see him, to let him see my face, and I handed him my business card, got his, just making that relationship. So when I needed something, of course, I did come up with a couple of things that I needed on the county level and actually for Rainbow City. But this is the kind of thing that you can do as an advocate for someone, or for yourself, if you're the one that needs, is keep your eyes and ears open to when people are going to be around, whether it's a state representative that's going to be close and going to be out there, or how you can run into your county commissioner that you want to see, on a personal basis. So get yourself in front of them. And that was one of the things.
That's what.
Yeah.
When I was making the slide the other day, I just put Adderholt's guy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Adderholt's guy. That's Congressman Robert Adderholt. James Manasco is his guy, and he has an office in Gadsden. And so.
But his title is.
His title is District Field Representative for Congressman Robert Adderholt. But anyway, he very personal guy. If you need something from from the federal level, Adderholt is very hands-on. He's easy to reach, and again, James Manasco is the person that you can go personally and talk to and say, "Hey, I've got this going on."
Not since.
I think someone unmuted.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, those two people, if y'all got that, or you can get it back from Linda. But this is just, this is me in campaign mode. And I want to put this on here. This was on the side of Highway 77. Again, get yourself noticed. Make your voice heard. Those are the things that you need to do as an advocate for yourself or for someone else. Put yourself in the right place. Talk to the right person, and when you talk to that right person, have your story ready. Have an index card or some small piece of paper that can be looked at quickly that has exactly who you are, exactly what your need is, and if you've got part of the solution already figured out, hand that person part of the solution. And you'll be surprised at how many people that are in places like myself who really want to help. I mean, that's why we're there. We didn't start doing this and my phone rang 20 times a day for no reason. My heart's where it's at. And so get yourself out there, get yourself noticed, and be the advocate that you need to be. And I think the next card that's my contact information. I'll screenshot that. You're welcome to email me or call that cell phone anytime. I would I would encourage you just to call my cell phone or email the office. I'll end up getting it, but I don't mind answering the phone anytime. So that's who I am.
So Tim, I've got a question on your the slide, one of the slides back there when Ryan was driving to work. How did you go about getting him driving lessons or the license? Did you have to do anything special, or how'd you do that?
No, it took him. He got his license when he was about 20, and I just did what made sense to me. I bought a 4-wheeler. You know, we had an old 4-wheeler that was around, got it running, and put him on a 4-wheeler and got him used to driving a 4-wheeler, and then talked to my wife, and we decided to get a golf cart. That's a little bit more like a car, and got him used to driving a golf cart. And then I bought the smallest car that I could get, which was like a little Chevy Tracker that he felt like was just a little bit bigger than a golf cart. Scared me to death, him being in it, but again, a means to an end. I progressed him up through a Chevy Tracker and, you know, let him drive that. We got his permit, and then
So he passed the test and everything? when
yeah, I mean, he did it. He did it on his own. He is absolutely the safest driver you've ever seen. He uses his blinker coming out of the driveway, and I'm not kidding. I mean, you know, that's his personality. And seriously, at night, in the morning, at like 5 o'clock, when he's headed to work, and there ain't nobody on the road and it's dark, I'll see his blinker on the end of the driveway when he's fixing to turn out of our driveway and go somewhere. So if it says you use your blinker when you turn, you use your blinker when you turn. So he does. But he does good. He does good. He's challenged, and I challenge him every chance I get.
I have another question. When you were talking about that first grant that you wrote for the recycling, you said it was like a $4,000 grant, and you said you had someone help you do that. How did you find somebody? 'Cause everybody on this call, a lot of people on this call too, they're always like, how do you start writing a grant? How do you find somebody to help you write a grant? It's just so intimidating.
I would start with Google. Google a grant. You don't have to invent the wheel. Go to Google, find a grant that kind of suits what you suit, and you need to know who you go to, and a grant just tells a story. That's all it is. You tell a story about your needs, and you tell a story about how you're going to fix this thing, and it's going to be so much better if you just give me this money. That's all it is. It's telling a story, and it's not complicated. I had a guy that had written a grant, and he actually wrote the grant, and I looked at it and thought, well, I actually took it home to my wife because she's really Linda knows my wife.
Yeah.
She is very let's make all those I's dotted and make all those T's crossed. No, cross it just a little bit higher. That kind of person. So she went through it and then made all the grammatical errors fixed and did all those kind of things that make it better. But it's grant writing. I would say Google it, get started, tell a story, and tell your story, and make them kind of like what I did with Ryan. Tell about Ryan. You know Ryan now and what he does. Veronica.
Hi. I just was speaking to our group as a whole, and I think when you're working with more governmental type grant writing, and Linda, obviously, and Daryl, you can chime in on this for sure, and many other of you, but I wrote my first grant this past year. Well, I've written 2 grants for the same thing. And, some of the grant applications are very specific and very detailed. So you just follow the lead on that. But like you said, maybe that's an angle I never thought of. I mean, I just watched went to a conference that looked at different ways to try to chase down money. And, I never thought about that, of going to at a more local level and asking for the money, because I think, okay, this is related to, disabilities, and it's related to, it has to go through our disability channels. And so I think as a group, we really have to look outside the box and start thinking about going to our like you said, going to our mayor, our local mayors and our local council members and asking for money and asking for ways to fund what we need. And so it really is more of a community approach. So by you sharing that, it's really kind of got my wheels and my mind starting to spin. And now I'm thinking about a whole bunch of different little things that I'm going to be thinking about. But this was so very much needed, having your perspective. I mean, I'm really, so far, this has been the most informative for me in it personally understanding. And you're giving some really, really golden tidbits of help and this is good stuff. As they would say in church, tell me more, amen. Yeah, this
I'm glad you said that, because my wife was asking me this morning, what are you going to say? I said, I don't know. And it just drives her crazy.
I knew what he was going to say, and I knew what he could say.
I did actually.
Got my wheels spinning, and I'm really, I get, we get caught up in this blinder of this disability world of that, we have to keep on these lanes of working with agencies and disability funding and disability this. So, it's not a disability issue. It's just a human rights issue. And so let's take it to our county commissioners, and let's take it to people. Anybody can help us.
Well, even if they don't have the money, they may have the contact, and that's what you need. You got to get down the line to where you find the money. And again, if Etowah County commissioners don't have a whole bunch of money that's not budgeted for one thing or the other, but we might know where to get it. We got Kim.
Hey, so yeah, I was just going to reiterate what you and Veronica were just saying. And I absolutely love your story about teaching your son to drive. Now that's just driving. You could probably apply the same concept to almost anything. In my personal experience, I know people in agencies and organizations at the federal and state level probably think I'm very anti-agency and organization. And I'm not. I'm really not. I think that they do serve a purpose. But in my own personal experience, much like yours that you were illustrating with teaching your son to drive, I have found the most success the most often when I go back and rely on natural supports from our community and within our own family. And I cannot stress that enough to this group. I know it's about partnering, and I know it's about policy making, and that is so important. But when you build up natural supports within your own community at a grassroots level, there has been so much traction, so much faster every time we do that. For Colby's dream team, that's 9 people in different domains of his life with connections to their own people who have connections to their own people, all within the same community. And when you start to play that out, if I were to have taken the track of finding Colby a job or waiting on an agency, and I'm not going to name the agency, we all know them and love them, but if I would have waited on that agency to help Colby find a job, he would have been picking up dog feces at a park after hours without people. And now he's getting to see his neighbors and friends and fellow students at Publix making way more money. And that was nothing but natural supports within our own community. We didn't go through an agency for that. We didn't wait on federal money or funds. So just really, really take that to heart and try to convince the people that we're talking to at the top how important that is.
I'd second that, Kim. That we've had the same exact experience. We found with agencies, our daughter was more limited than any other system that we've encountered along the way. And if we had waited for the agencies to give her an opportunity to work, then she would have been restricted to doing work that she wasn't interested in doing, She would have been restricted to environments that didn't suit her and that were actually damaging to her disability. And we did the same thing. We reached out to our own individual support systems for driving, for working. She has her driver's license, she drives her own car, and she works at Publix as well. And if we'd waited for the agency's help, it would have not only come many, many years too late, it would have come inappropriately suited for her needs.
Yeah,
You know-
and so that's one thing I try to help people understand is that if we really understand what these agencies and organizations are there for, they're not there to provide for their need, they're there to supplement, right? And so if we can wrap our heads around that, there's no possible way an agency is going to meet every single person's need on every level. It's impossible. That's not going to happen. So getting the people we partner with in policymaking to understand the fundamental value of building up those natural supports within our own communities, that'll be my battle cry. That'll be my soapbox. That'll be what y'all hear from me for the rest of every time you see me. Build up your natural supports, y'all. That matters a lot.
Let me say one thing. Two of you guys were just talking about Publix being an employer for a person with a disability. Those are the kinds of things that we need to be speaking on social media, praising that, and let that system grow of the praises for them stepping forward and putting people who need a job, who have a disability, to work, because everybody loves praise, including Publix, including Lowe's. And anytime you give that and another person or another employer's out there and they're seeing that we can do that, that just opens the door to more people putting more people to work. But getting a pat on the back, even on the corporate level, is a good thing. So put that foot forward for Publix and for Lowe's in your social media and thank them. And you might be surprised at how well just the grassroots of that would help.
I think Rena has her hand up.
I'm sorry, go Rena.
I just had a quick, I have a city council that's pretty difficult and pretty political. I didn't know if you had any maybe tips, tricks on how to kind of like make this work, because if you've got anything, I mean, aside from Jesus at this point, I don't know what kind of hope I've got. So I just didn't know if you had some insight or something that would help.
Back to what I said earlier, really, try to find the one council member that identifies with you or you identify with, and take them a specific need and if you've got it, a specific answer, and just see if you can get them to begin with them on board. Because when you walk into a room full of them, it may be that person is disconnected that day and really got too much on their mind. And their city council, county commission, everybody they're just people. And so they have good days, they have bad days, they have days they're really focused, they have days they're not really focused. And so I would have that one person that I wanted to contact and try to get with them one-on-one and see if you could get it started in that direction instead of trying to go before the whole council, because again, you don't know what you're going to get from that. And they will be able to give you insight on how to work that council better than I would. And it's going to have to do with money. It's going to have to do with personalities. But again, see if you can look them up on Facebook. See if you can find a connection that you have. Maybe it's friends that y'all have in common. Maybe it's sports that y'all have in common. Maybe it's, some common thread that y'all have that you can capitalize on. And, as bad as it sounds, stalk them a little bit. Figure out where you're going to run into them. Find out where they live and figure out, how you can run into them. And then, obviously, if you can get them, send them a thing, is there any way you can meet me, 15 minutes before the work session of the thing? I'd like to speak to you privately. And take your thing to them.
Okay.
That would be my best bet.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna go to the chat, and it's a good question, so I want to make sure we hit the questions that's in the chat. Mr. Tim, are you able to share the name of your association again?
It's the ACCA. It's the Alabama County Commissioners Association. That's who I'm affiliated with.
All right, I'm make sure that you all heard that. And another question was, when and which groups joined the trip to Zambia?
That was a church group from Harvest Field Church. Gosh, I guess that was, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, maybe. I don't really even remember. Been a good while ago, but that was that was a crazy trip. We never had, our church had never been to that part of the world, and I don't know who made the flight plans, but we ended up traveling seriously for 36 hours. And we got there, and they said, well, you can fly directly to somewhere in Africa, and it's like a 12-hour flight. And we traveled for 36 hours. We had one 12-hour layover in Amsterdam, which was pretty eventful.
Wow.
But yeah, it was that was a trip of a lifetime for sure.
Right. Well, we appreciate that. And a couple more comments. Veronica indicated that the more money you're asking for, the more detailed your proposal or your grant will have to be. And also, Melissa, for those who don't know, VR can help with the child obtaining a permit or driver's license. Comments.
Let me say this about the grant. Be aware of the grant that you're applying for, how much is available, and how much is available per grant, and don't ask for more than what is available, because it might get thrown out. If you need $100,000, and that's a huge number, but and the grant only covers 50,000, they may just throw the 100,000 out to begin with, because it doesn't fit in the parameters. So know your grant that you're looking for and some of the parameters. Do your legwork and make sure of where you're going with that. And,
it will be thrown out.
Yeah. It may just be a $3,000 grant, and your need is $9,000. Well, see if you can get 3 of it.
Yeah. Let's see.
Kim, have you got your hand up?
No, am I supposed to take it down? Sorry. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
I think that may be all the questions that I see. I hope I didn't overlook any more questions.
I see that pretty question slide.
I forgot to ask the questions. There's a whole bunch of questions on the board. No, just kidding. Daryl, I love the poster behind you. That's cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I started to change up a little bit. Yeah, several of them, but I like this one, I think, the most.
Yeah, red tails are pretty cool.
Yep.
Okay. Well, guys, if y'all don't have anything else, it's been my pleasure to be here today. I really enjoyed it. Be happy to speak with any of you guys on the phone. You got my number now. Linda's got it. If you can't get it, if you missed it, anything I can do for you, I certainly will do. But any kind of contacts I've got that I can come up with for you guys, I'll certainly do that. So again, it's my pleasure to be with you guys today. So with that, we done?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. So I think Clifton has the next one is a video presentation